Proper football game. I think all the people enjoying the stadium on TV, watching the game, and at the end, this is where the football is so nice. So I think both teams, they try to win, they give everything, and when that's happened, I never ever can regret absolutely anything to the players.
I don't believe you've been sent off since your Burnley days. You were given a bit of a scare there. Were you surprised, given the challenge was on the halfway line and the nature of it?
No, I understand. I had to bring him down because he was through on goal with on the counter attack. But you know, I want to make it clear that I'm not the type of player to injure a player. I knew it wasn't the studs, and I was saying that to Kev. You know, I apologised after the game, but I said, you know, I want to win the match.
We've grown used to watching your team, the work rate, the desire all being there. But against Manchester City, who've got that in abundance themselves, how pleased were you were able to match them stride for stride?
Yeah, I think you need the mentality first. So you need the bravery, you need the willingness to take a slight risk. The alternative is to sit back and you think you're safe in numbers behind the ball, but the reality is you're not. So we did take a slight risk, but I thought that was worth taking. And then the players executed it brilliantly. And some of our counter-attacking today was of the highest level. And I thought we looked a real threat in transitions.
Well, as Pep Guardiola said, that was a proper game.
We've got to say thanks and well done to both sets of players for providing us with a football and treat on a Sunday afternoon. Those who were lucky enough to be in the stadium and us watching in the studio, it was a fantastic game of football from start to finish. And Newcastle really caused them problems in forward positions, particularly down their left-hand side with Alan Saint-Maximin, who I thought was unplayable at times. And Newcastle were brave in and out of possession, and they took risks, because when you look at the position of Man City's fullbacks in those positions when they're in field, they do leave spaces in behind them. And when you've got pace and the ability like Newcastle had today to do that, to get in behind and attack. I mean, Saint-Maximin gave Kyle Walker a torrid afternoon because of his positioning. And when I say they were brave and they took risks, Newcastle, then they leave three players up. But because of the positioning of the fullbacks, then they were able to do this. They were able to get in behind because of as I said, the speed of their counter-attacks. Similar thing again when Man City are in possession. Look where their fullbacks are. And when the turnover, they did that, Newcastle. I mean, it is really entertaining. The fans loved it, and as I said, particularly down that side with him. Now, 3 defenders against 4 Man City players when Man City are in possession, forcing them long. But when they win the ball, that then enables them, because they've got men forward, Newcastle, they're a threat. They get people into the box, and that is a brilliant ball in. That's what he's got to do every single week now, Saint-Maximin, because he's set the bar for himself. And once Kyle Walker goes into and he's made that decision, he has to win that header. He should really drop off, then there wouldn't really be a problem. But because he doesn't win the header, this is exactly what happens. Again, pace on the counter-attack, the ability to run with the ball, and the touch and the finish from Callum Wilson is absolutely superb. And as I said, so many problems Newcastle caused Man City today.
That was really brave, though, wasn't it? I mean, the first game of the season, when City won at West Ham, and Danny Murphy was in the studio, and he highlighted, you know, the full-backs took you in. Yeah. And I asked him, well, how do you counter that? And he said, well, you're going to have to be brave if you're going to counter that.
You've got to be brave, and you've got to take risks, and you've got to have the players that are good enough to turn it around. When you win possession, you've got to be positive. You've got to have the pace to get at them and hurt them. Newcastle did that today. I thought it was a magnificent game, but I just thought the way Newcastle reacted after going 1-0 down, the first 10 minutes in the game, they were under the cosh. They didn't panic. They didn't change their game plan. They still wanted to hit Manchester City in those forward positions, and they did that, and it turned out to be an unbelievable game.
Manchester City don't panic, though, do they, when they're 3-1 down?
They never panic. You know, good sides like this, you know, they never panic. You know, they've been in this situation so many times before, and they always pull it back. You know, the players that they've got, you know, they never panic, which is a sign of a top team. You see here, John Stones actually takes the corner, sorry. Bernardo Silva, you know, he commits players, and he cuts it back here, and you see Man City, they just get overloaded at the back post, and the ball just drops here, and there's only one man that's going to react the quickest, you know, and that's Haaland in that situation. Again, Bernardo Silva, who was fantastic all afternoon, committing plays here, gets it to Rodri, and De Bruyne is in acres of space, and you think, you know, he's got a few options. I thought he was going to actually clip it to Kyle Walker, then an unbelievable pass, but the touch there and the finish, you know, you can't take that away from Bernardo Silva there. You see here, the touch and finish, you want players to be, you know, cool in that situation. He just rolls it into the corner. Fantastic finish. Again, at this point, you know, they're in full control. The ball goes wide here. Just watch Gundogan there. He scans and he sees this, but just you ask players to be inventive around the box, you know, and, you know, I thought it was offside there. The ball goes wide. That man again, Bernardo Silva, committing players. You know, it comes inside, plays to De Bruyne, pass out wide. Watch Haaland's movement here. And this one, just unfortunate, really. It's an instinctive finish, and you know he has a little smile here because he probably thinks that he should score.
So it's interesting, isn't it? We had this discussion on the radio yesterday. You try and keep a line against City or sit deep so they can't get in behind, but then you're giving De Bruyne space to just do whatever he wanted to do.
Exactly. Yeah, it's so difficult when you play against players like Kevin De Bruyne, where sometimes even us, you're watching the game and a pass don't seem on, and he can just talk about breaking lines. You know, he could just find someone like he did there. But at the end of it, you've got players that can finish it as well. But a fantastic ball and an overall top game.
Under Eddie Howe, the transfer policy has been very impressive, particularly when you see how players settle into the club quickly. And we've seen it again with another signing today.
Yeah, Pope again. He earned his team a point last week at Brighton and more than played his part today. And the number of saves again that he made today, and he looks big in that position, 1v1. There was a couple of times today. I mean, that is an unbelievable save. Great from Haaland. Lovely strike, but just gets down to his left-hand side, gets his left hand to it. And, do you mean? I
like goalkeepers when they come out, they're so good with his feet. You know, I think goalkeepers as well that recognise that, you know, sometimes if the front players press, the goalkeepers has to stay high as well. And, you know, he was off his line quick. You see here, how many times you see that, you know, players just getting there just before the goalkeeper and that been given a penalty. But that's fantastic timing, off his line quick. And overall today, he was brilliant. From a striker's point of view, is that what impresses you the most, looking at that from the goalkeeper, in that he is that quick off? Of course. You know, I remember playing with Hugo Lloris, and that's the first thing that I noticed, how quick he was off his line. And it almost makes you rush your finish. And, you know, today he was fantastic all afternoon. And more performances like that, and he will be pushing Jordan Pickford. Oh, absolutely. I think he's already pushing him. There's a doubt about that. He started the season really, really well. He keeps that up, then he'll more than be in contention. So, penalty? I mean, I'm doing it with the side because I know what you're going to say. I mean, you know. Well, if you know what I'm going to say, why don't you ask the ex-Sunderland player what he thought about it? That's never a pen. Just wind him up. Tell the truth. Yeah, that's a penalty. You see here, and if you watch John Stones' reaction, he looks at the referee straight away because I think he panics. Anywhere else on the pitch, you know, that's a foul. You see here, it's clumsy. I mean, the more you watch it back, the worse it gets. And he looks at the referee here because he knows he's panicked there. But for me, yeah, it is a penalty, for sure. I think that's right. I think anywhere else on the pitch, then the referee gives a foul there, but they say that there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. To overturn it, whilst at the same time the feeling being that it's one of those where if it had been given, they would have probably said there wasn't enough evidence to overturn it. I'm in agreement with the ex-Sunderland player. I thought it was a penalty as well. Right, OK. You didn't put any song tiles in that analysis, did you? Haven't missed? All right, good. Just checking I haven't missed anything. Right, after